Story 1. Before this story starts, I want to say that I am a 14-year-old from the Netherlands. Some backstory. This story took place when I was 12 years old, so I don't remember some of the dialogue perfectly, and there was no COVID-19. 6 weeks before this story, I was diagnosed with diabetes mellitus type 1, which meant that my pancreas did not work, so I had to maintain my own sugar level. At this time, me and my family were still really getting used to my new life with diabetes. I was not in a depressed state or anything, but I was just not really happy. It still makes me angry when I think about it. So on to the story. Me, entitled mom, entitled kid, and the nice man. I was sitting on the bus from school alone, doing something on my phone when I noticed a mom, with an absolute Karen look, and her entitled kid, who was probably like 6 to 8 years old. The kid was playing on his mom's phone, and they were saying nothing to me. Then after like 5 minutes, the kid asked his mom if he could have some candy. The mom said sure, but when she looked in her purse, she did not have anything. The kid started crying and demanding candy. I had my earbuds in the whole time, so it did not annoy me that much. When the kid calmed down, I started to get the feeling that I had when my sugar level was getting a low blood sugar level, which can get dangerous when I don't eat food. The feeling really sucks, and especially at that time, as my body was definitely not used to it as it is now. As usual, I started shaking and took a cookie to get more sugar in my blood. When the entitled kid saw that I had a few cookies, he whispered something to his entitled mom, and she started talking to me. This is the translated conversation. Entitled mother: "Hey kid, can my angel have your cookies? I don't have them with me." Me: "No sorry, I need them for my..." She interrupts me: "Oh come on, just give them to my angel. You can eat some when you get home." "Please miss, I need it. It's really important for my diabetes. Can't you see I'm shaking? I can die if I don't eat right now. I had a really low blood sugar level, so I was not lying." "Don't you lie to me, little boy? I can see you're lying. I just know it, so give it now." "No, I need it." Entitled kid: "Mom, I want candy." I started to eat the cookie, but when I tried, she grabbed my hand and took the cookie from me. The entitled mother started screaming, "You're so disrespectful to your elders." I started crying because I felt so bad. "Please miss, give it. I really need it, please." "Stop lying, you piece of trash." This is when a nice man from the other side of the bus came to where we were sitting. "Nice man, what is going on here? This jerk is being so disrespectful to me and my angel." I could only cry. I felt terrible, and the man saw my shaking. "Is everything okay, kiddo?" Then foam came out of my mouth and everything went black. I woke up in a hospital. I was confused, and when I tried to move, my back hurt a lot. I saw my mom and dad asleep in the room. When I woke them, my mom started crying. They called a doctor, and he did a few tests with me to see if I was okay. When I asked what was wrong with my back and what happened, my dad told me that I was in a coma for 4 days. I asked my dad what happened after I got knocked out. Here is what happened. This is what the nice man told me what happened. "Nice man, what did you do to this kid?" Entitled mother: "Me." "Yes, you." "I did nothing. I just took his cookie for my angel." "I'm calling 911. "Don't. He's clearly faking this. Look. This crazy lady kicked me as hard as she could on my back." "Nice man, are you crazy?" The bus had stopped because of the commotion. The bus driver saw her kicking me, an unconscious kid, and grabbed her away from me, and the nice man called 911. I was picked up and taken from the hospital, and the entitled mother was taken to the police. Then I was in a coma for 4 days. My parents pressed charges against her, but it took a long while because we could not handle it emotionally yet. After about 10 days, I could finally leave the hospital. The entitled mother was taken into custody until court, which took after another 2 months. I did not go to court, so I have no dialogue for that, but the result was, the entitled mother lost the case. She had to go to a psychiatric hospital, and her kids were taken away from her, and she had to pay all the hospital bills plus 50 euro to my family. Story 2. First-time poster, long-time reader here. I've seen my fair share of, "I don't work here, lady," and "I want to speak to your manager" moments during my years in customer service, so I thought I'd share one of my favorites with you. For some background, I'm a hairstylist at a local chain salon in a mid-sized strip mall. Our dress code used to be all black, white, or gray long pants or skirts, with mid to long-sleeved shirts or dresses. It was very business casual server kind of attire, except we were allowed to have our hair styled however we liked. We were required to keep it neatly done, along with makeup and the full professional look. So, I didn't blame people for sometimes assuming I worked in other stores when I forgot to change out of my work clothes before running errands. And while I've had some pretty wild encounters, this one still stands out. That day, I worked an excessively long shift. It was busy from open to close, and I didn't even have time to take a lunch break. When the salon finally closed, I decided to head across the street to a popular steakhouse for a quick bite before going home. Now, keep in mind I'm blind in my right eye, deaf in my right ear, and mostly deaf in my left ear. I wear thick glasses for my one good eye and a hearing aid, and I usually part my hair so it's visible. That evening, I was still wearing my typical black slacks, black t-shirt, and my stylist apron, which clearly displayed the name of the salon. When I walked in, I was greeted by the staff. Since it was during the dinner rush, they told me it would be a few minutes before they could seat me. I stepped off to the side to wait quietly. That's when the situation began. In walks this very entitled woman and her college-aged son. We'll call her Karen. She spotted me almost instantly, apparently assuming I worked there, and walked straight over with her son following behind. She just stood there, staring at me expectantly. After about a minute, she coughed loudly and glared, clearly trying to get my attention. I didn't respond. I was tired and honestly didn't even hear her. Suddenly, she grabbed my arm and yanked on it. "Excuse me?" she snapped. "Are you going to help me or what?" Ma'am," I began, startled. "I don't work." She immediately cut me off. "I don't care if you're on a break. Just help us get a seat. My son is hungry." I blinked at her, taken aback by her tone. "I'm sorry, ma'am," I said, "but I'm not on a break. I don't work here." Not wanting to deal with any further nonsense, I walked over to the front desk and rang the little bell they have for when a hostess isn't nearby. Karen followed me, still talking non-stop about how rude I was and how she couldn't believe my behavior. The restaurant was packed, so it took a moment for a server to appear. Meanwhile, Karen kept raising her voice, threatening that she'd have my job, and ranting about how I shouldn't be working in customer service if I had such a bad attitude. At that point, I'd had enough. I took out my hearing aid, not that it made me completely deaf, but it was my way of signaling that I was done listening. Her son looked mortified. He stared at me with this apologetic expression, clearly aware of how embarrassing his mother's behavior was. Karen, however, just kept going, oblivious. Finally, a server came by and, out of habit, apologized immediately. The server asked me what was going on, but before I could answer, Karen jumped in again, demanding to speak to a manager and declaring that she would have me fired. The server looked from her to me, confused, and then seemed to realize what was happening. She let out a small laugh and said, "Ma'am, she doesn't work here. If you wait just a minute, we'll get you a seat." The server hurried off to find a manager to help calm things down, and another server approached me to say my table was ready. I followed him, but to my surprise, Karen and her son followed too, trying to sit down at the same table. I looked at them, completely baffled, then turned to the server, who hadn't noticed at first that they weren't with me. "They're not with me," I told him. Karen immediately exploded, yelling that a server shouldn't be seated before paying customers. The poor server looked confused, glancing between us. Moments later, the manager came over. Having already been briefed by the hostess, he understood the situation and calmly told Karen that I didn't work there and that the table was mine. Karen, of course, started yelling again, insisting that even if I was on break, she and her son deserved the table more. At that point, I just walked over to the bar, sat down, and waited for things to end. The manager remained professional but firm, telling Karen she would need to leave or he'd have to call security. She huffed, muttered complaints, and finally stormed out with her son trailing behind her, looking thoroughly embarrassed. It was absolutely ridiculous. Story 3. This happened on Christmas a couple years ago. The stars of this story is me, 26 male, my brother John 24 male, my sister 34 female, and my mom. Just a little backstory. My parents divorced a few years before this happened, and my dad moved to New Mexico with his new wife. Let's call her the devil. My dad didn't tell me he got engaged. I only found out because a friend of his mailed a congratulations card to my mom's house. I opened it because I figured it was spam, cause all of Dad's friends/family/important people would know his new address. Well, apparently not. The card even had a picture of him with the devil when they announced their engagement. A little over a month later, and they got married. I only found out because my brother told me. Apparently, my dad told John that he was going to invite us over for the wedding only to tell him a week later that they went ahead and got married. Don't get me wrong, I am in no way, shape, or form close to my dad. It just would have been nice to know he got remarried when he has so adamant about honesty and trust. Anyways, on to the story. About a week before Christmas, my mom got a package that had gifts with cards taped to the front. They were for my sibling and myself. All of them were the exact same size, and after hold one, I knew they were DVDs. They could have been video games, but very few things have that distinctive DVD case feel. My mom joked that they were probably their wedding pictures. On the big day, we opened all the other presents until only his were left. My sibling also guessed they were DVDs. Then we opened them. And guess what? They were DVDs. John and my sister got Idiocracy and I got Ghost Cat. We all burst out laughing. What is Ghost Cat? It turns out, it's a movie from the 80s aimed at preteens about a cat that haunts a house to help a girl solve a murder. According to reviews, it's pretty forgettable. My sister said it looked like our dad went to a dollar DVD bin and just picked 3 movies without looking at them. Honestly, I think he kind of tried. He knows I like cats, I have too. So effort. Little did we know, the best was yet to come. The cards, they were taped to the front of the gift, and we figured they would be the same. They were the exact same card. He and the devil wrote the exact same message in each card. Honestly, why bother with a handwritten message if you aren't going to personalize it? It's almost like he truly believed we wouldn't open them together and read the card out loud. Inside the card contained a copy of their wedding photo. But the absolute best part was the smaller card inside. At first, we thought it might be a gift card or something similar. Nope, not even close. It was a thank you card with a pre-stamped envelope. We all looked at each other and then opened the card. We lost it. He pre-wrote his own thank you message. He even left a spot for us to sign our names. The card was covered in glitter and it looked like something you would send to someone for a wedding gift. We all collectively decided not to send a thank you card back. Hilarity aside, how tacky and entitled do you have to be to demand someone thank you for a gift? We aren't little kids still learning to mind their manners. How did he even justify it to himself? I'm going to buy a gift for my kids and hope they don't open them together. Then I'm going to put in a thank you card that I'll go ahead and fill out, stamp, and address. My kids are obviously too lazy to thank me for my thoughtful gifts. After a few days, he asked if we got them, and we said, I haven't seen anything. Maybe the post office lost it or delivered it to the wrong house. Honestly, this happens all the time where I live, so it's believable enough. Later, my mom pointed out in the picture that the suit my dad is wearing she bought for him when they went on vacation together. I wonder if the devil knows that. I still have that thank you card. Story 4. My third and final story about entitled people is yet another one involving a BMW. This time, it took place at a popular bar in a major city in northern England. The story features a male version of a Karen, so let's call him Kevin. It was early in the day, and the bar wasn't scheduled to open until 7 p.m. that evening. I arrived at the bar with a clear task for the day: to wait for a scaffolding team to deliver and set up their equipment, and then use it to remove old security cameras and replace them with upgraded ones. I had a full set of keys for the bar, which also had its own private car park. The car park was protected by locking drop-down bollards. They weren't automatic or high-tech, so I had to pull up on the street outside, lock my van, walk over, and manually drop the bollards, usually getting splashed in the process, since the pits they were installed in always seemed to fill with rainwater. After that, I'd pull my van inside and raise the bollards again to prevent anyone else from parking there. The bar was located very close to the local Social Security office, and the bollards were installed for a reason. Many of that office's visitors had been using the bar's private car park to avoid paying for parking like everyone else. That morning, I pulled up, dropped the bollards, and parked my van inside the lot. The scaffolding team was about 20 minutes behind me, so I had some time to grab a quick coffee from the cafe around the corner. Unfortunately, just after I lowered the bollards, Kevin drove up in his BMW X5, pulled into the car park, and parked. I followed him in and parked my van as well. I tapped on his window and told him that it was a private car park and that he needed to leave. He was on a hands-free call and just gestured for me to go away. I tapped again, and he rolled his window down and shouted, "I'm on a phone call," before rolling it back up and ignoring me. Now, I could have been petty and locked him in, but I didn't. Instead, I walked around the corner, got my coffee, and left the bollards down so he could still leave if he wanted to. About 5 minutes later, I came back, coffee in hand. He was still there, still on the phone, and I could see the scaffolding lorry making its way up the hill. Once again, I tapped on his window, and this time he mouthed, "Get lost," at me. The lorry arrived, and I gestured for them to reverse into the car park, which they did, blocking the entire area. The 3 large, muscular scaffolders got out and began unloading and assembling the structure. It was a substantial setup, with around 50 bars and 4 levels high at the back of the building. After 10 minutes, the first level started to take shape, resembling a massive mechanical construction set. I didn't know much about scaffolding, so I just stood there in admiration as they worked quickly and efficiently, tossing bars and planks like seasoned professionals. Kevin eventually finished his all-important call, stepped out of his fancy BMW X5, and walked across the street to the social services building. I assumed he figured that by the time he returned, we'd be done, and he could just hop back in his car and leave. Almost an hour passed. The scaffold grew taller and wider while the lorry grew emptier, but there was still another level to go. As the structure got higher, the pace naturally slowed. I helped by passing parts up, but couldn't do much else since I wasn't trained or certified for that kind of work. Kevin returned about an hour and 10 minutes later and demanded, "You have to let me out." I calmly replied, "Mate, you're not going anywhere. I tried to tell you earlier, but you told me to get lost." He started to get aggressive and shoved me. At that point, the scaffolders came down to back me up. They looked intimidating. He didn't. Kevin quickly retreated, jumped back into his BMW, and sat there on his phone. 10 minutes later, the police arrived. Apparently, Kevin had called them, claiming that we were blocking him in and had threatened him. I calmly explained to the officer what had really happened, mentioning that since this was a bar, everything was recorded on security cameras. I provided my details and those of my company, and the scaffolders did the same. Then, the second officer began checking our vehicles, which I found a bit odd but didn't question. The first officer then asked the scaffolders if they could move their lorry to let Kevin out. They agreed, but it took a few minutes for them to secure their load properly. We all cooperated, though the police did give us a warning. It's technically an offense to knowingly block someone in, even on private property. Kevin finally got into his BMW and reversed out of the gates, but as soon as he did, the second officer motioned for him to pull over and get out. As it turned out, after some further questioning, the officers discovered that Kevin didn't have valid road tax, insurance, or even a driving license. The police had to let him drive out of the private car park first because no crime was committed until he attempted to drive on a public road. Once he did that, he was officially violating road traffic laws, which allowed them to seize his vehicle. In the end, the officers sent Kevin walking to the bus stop, while one of them drove his 2-year-old BMW X5 to the impound lot. He could only retrieve it by paying a hefty fee and having someone with a valid license and insurance claim it. Later, I found out that if Kevin had just paid £2.70 for a parking ticket, he would have saved himself over £100 that day between the impound fees, the fines, and the penalties for driving without the proper documentation. Story 5. I posted yesterday about my mom trying to ruin my graduation. I had a few people ask for the story about my wedding. While I feel it will be anticlimactic, I am sharing it to show the pure entitlement of not only my mother, but for many other people in my family as well. I, a female, got married young. It was a very small wedding and most of it was DIY. We had a low budget because we were college kids and our friends and family members pitched in to make it wonderful. Including everything, our wedding did not cost more than $500. One of the things we cut out were invitations. One of the requirements for getting the venue for free was that we had to have it open to the public. We made a mass invite to everyone online. If you wanted to come, you were welcome. If you didn't want to come, then you were welcome to watch the live stream of the ceremony. We did this as we have many family members from out of state. The invitations are where everything blew up. My mother decided that if she did not receive a handwritten invitation, she would not attend my wedding. I figured that works because if she is going to make a scene and try to make the wedding about her, I don't want her there. So I was not going to make my mom the only person invited. If she didn't come, then that was on her. My mother proceeded to call her mom and sister, my grandma and aunt, to tell them that her entire side of the family has been disinvited from my wedding. Not true. When my grandmother called to tell me she was hurt she was not invited, I proceeded to tell her that we did not invite anyone. It was open for all who wanted to come, and she was welcome to come. My grandmother said she would not come, but would watch the stream, so no one from my mom's side of the family came to the wedding. My sister invited us to brunch to talk about plans. While there, she tried to talk us into writing an invitation for Mom and a few others. I stood my ground. If Mom does not want to come, then that is on her, but I will not feed this behavior and have her make a scene at my wedding by getting her way. My sister then went behind my back and made invitations for my wedding. She forged my husband's signatures and gave them to my mom and others. My mom called me to thank me for the invitation and to RSVP. I was livid, however my wedding was a week away. I had too much to focus on, and this was not going to take time away from me, so I let it go. At the wedding, my mother saw that my husband's side of the family all had jobs, bringing in food and photography, setting up, and she came to my dressing room to yell at me. My entitled mother, why didn't you ask me to help? Do you no appreciate my efforts? Me, I did not ask anyone for help. They volunteered to help so that we could have a nice day and save money. It is their wedding gift to us. Had you told me you were planning it like this, I would have offered my help. I had no idea you were coming until a few days ago. Well, that is when I finally got my invitation. How was I supposed to know you wanted me here? That invitation is not from me, it is from my sister. And you knew you were welcome because we told you. That is not enough, and you know it. This is supposed to be my day to shine. My daughter is getting married. The little girl I brought into the world is a woman today. I come here and I see you have not included me in anything. You don't have a reserved seat for the mother of the bride, and you haven't told me when I will be giving my speech. We are not doing that. There will be the ceremony, the dinner, the father-daughter dance, and my husband will dance with his mom, and finally a toast with a prayer. There will be no speeches. Throughout the wedding, my sister and mother took turns going on stage to give speeches about us. My brother-in-law went up as well as he thought he needed to after watching them do it. The rest of the wedding was great. We had wonderful friends and family made it great. After the wedding, my brother-in-law gives us pictures of the day. I look through and I do not see any pictures of my mom or sisters. It is if they were not there. I asked him why he didn't take any pictures of my side of the family. He said he tried, but every time he pointed the camera at her, she had a weird, sad face. He didn't want any pictures to be included of anyone having a bad time, so he didn't take any pictures of her. I knew I married into the right family. My mom did put the fake wedding invite in the family photo album. Story 6. So I'm in my 20s, and as is my significant other that I'll call fiancé for this post. Keep in mind I'm heavily disabled mentally and physically important for later due to certain reasons caused by my biological parents. I refuse to relive those events, so I won't say what happened to me during the time I lived with them growing up. But I will say my parents are divorced and hate each other. I have a service dog, and she's the best thing that ever happened to me. I'll call her Melly for this post to protect my privacy. Strap in for the ride, folks, because this is good. Due to my physical disabilities and my mental illness that I had legally diagnosed by an actually certified professional, I receive federal aid because I am physically unable to work as a result. I've been receiving benefits and using them for the right purposes like my rent, getting my college loan paid off, and among other things I'm using it to afford my medications for my conditions. See, my mother is a firm disbeliever of mental illness and states that because she had a bad life no one else can suffer, and would always use that excuse with me. She was unfortunately the person that the government dubbed in control of my aid benefits. That was until I moved away eventually when my now significant other helped me get out of that situation. During the time that I was with her, she wouldn't report to the government like she was supposed to. I even told her she had to. Her reply: "Why don't you report it yourself then?" Now I would, but the government doesn't want anything to do with me since I'm not the one that the government dubbed was in charge. I tried on multiple occasions to convince her, to no avail. That's when I tried myself. They literally asked me directly after getting my name for my representative, my mom, and cut me off as I was trying to explain the situation. When that failed, I tried going in person only to get met with, "We need to talk to your representative, or they have to be present for you to speak to us." This is because my mental illnesses made me physically incapable of distinguishing reality from the psychosis episodes. I randomly get shout out to fiancé for literally always being my anchor, and Melly too, so I could understand from their point of view. That did still kinda sting though. Imagine being told that because you have a mental illness that you're unable to be a functioning enough adult to speak to someone. I got penalized for lying to the government as a result of her stupid choice. See, the years that I lived with my mom, I wasn't told how much aid and benefits I was getting. I knew it was more than she told me since her and her boyfriend both always seemed to get expensive things like jewelry and new phones around the time of my payments. In short, the rule for my payments is that I can't have access to the money, but it has to be used for me, not her. The only other option I had other than magically getting better was to get kicked out of the house and end up homeless without my benefits. I needed those to treat my conditions though. My mother and her boyfriend also would hurt me a lot, steal my meds, etc. Fiancé learned the truth because I had a call up one day with him while I was cooking, and he witnessed my mom coming in and placing my hand inside a burning hot pan and screaming about getting more money I don't deserve. It took everything in him to not lose it at her when he saw this. He began to monitor everything because I would just be on Discord or Skype call with him during these times, so we could start gathering evidence by me leaving my phone on record the same time as the call whenever I saw her enter the same room as me. My revenge. One of the ways my mother tried to tie me to her was she would get me in debt with anyone and everyone she could, such as doctor appointments, college, etc. By stealing the cash that I had hidden from her to pay for those things. She was clearly also using my benefits for herself, which is against the law since it's meant for me. So fiancé, being the amazing man he is, he saved up money from his job and his active duty pay. He got me out of debt while keeping our evidence compiled and ready. The day freedom came, I snapped because she tried getting rid of Melly. After about 2 years of saving and biting the bullet, fiancé paid off my biggest debt, so I was able to have enough room to be able to move out. He had me move in with him. We then had all the recordings from the past 2 years and turned it all in. Social Security, of course, let me change my representative. So I then finally convinced them to switch the rep to being fiancé instead of her. During this time, though, he was called to get stationed in a state that was very far away for his military duty, and Social Security approved and said it was okay since he had orders to go. The result? From what my older brother explained, Mom tried desperately to keep herself as my representative. She lost the money she was using for all her fancy things as well as her house. Yes, you read that right. She used my benefit money to pay for the house without telling me. She was found guilty of federal fraud and falsifying federal documents, among other things. I don't know how long she got. I didn't bother asking because I just completely cut her out of my life. Note: my brother and I are on happily sibling-friendly terms and we talk a lot, and my condition has improved since I was able to start treatment without having someone get in my way. Fiancé is amazing and acts like a caretaker for me. When I left my mom, I didn't tell her I was leaving either, or else she would have done literally anything, including murder, to try to get me to stay. Edit. The reason I didn't leave sooner was because it's hard to leave a situation with zero money on top of having a medical issue to treat. And despite her allowing me to live there, she charged me rent and didn't inform me how much money I was getting. If I left without doing anything, I would have fallen on my face and been unable to care for myself. Leaving a situation like this isn't as simple as one phone call and done, especially when you don't even know the full scope of what they're doing to you. I wasn't a minor when I found out about this, and she had legal guardianship so I could receive benefits in the first place. And yes, she did get charged with abuse. I just don't like saying that word, which is why I put among other things.